Hey guys, so I'm going to do something a little bit different today, something I haven't filmed in a while, and that is going to be a get ready with me / life update, kind of, I don't know, chatty get ready with me if you will. So it is actually 4th of July as I'm filming this, so I'm going to do a 4th of July inspired look, but I think this video won't actually go up for a couple weeks, and I'll explain why in a minute. But I have kind of a vision of what I want to achieve here. So obviously with 4th of July, it's very kind of red, white, blue, that sort of thing. I think I want to do kind of a white, slightly shimmery eye with a blue cream liner. I have the Lethal Cosmetics gel liner that they did with Teresa is Dead, and this is in the shade Spectre, so I thought that was a nice kind of, I guess, royal blue color that I could use, and then of course do a red lip. So that's kind of what I'm going for, so we'll see if I'm able to kind of achieve the look that I have in my mind as we go along. So I guess I should start off by saying it is 4th of July, and I understand that for many people 4th of July is not, I guess, something they get overly excited about. I know Canada just had Canada Day, which is, I gather, kind of the equivalent in terms of like a patriotic holiday to the 4th of July in the US. And there was recently a revelation, I think, that there were some Indigenous children's graves, like unmarked graves, that were discovered, and so that kind of put a damper on how some people felt about their country and its history and everything like that. And I would never say like I bleed red, white, and blue or anything like that. I do work for the federal government, so there's that kind of element of, I guess, being a patriot or whatever, serving my country. My dad also was in the Army for like 20 some years while I was growing up, so we lived overseas, did that whole thing. So I very much value service to one's country, and I always value the military because the men and women in the military, they want to serve their country. Obviously they're not the ones calling the shots in terms of where or what conflicts they get into, that sort of thing. So I do have a lot of respect for that, and obviously public service. I do recognize, however, that there is kind of a troubled history in our country of, you know, the way that we've treated minorities. We had, you know, these ideals that were kind of laid out in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, but, you know, those ideals weren't realized for a lot of people at the time of the Constitution or the Declaration, and even now, you know, there's still a long way that we can go in some areas. So I just wanted to kind of recognize that. And I am also kind of a history lover, and I grew up in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia. If you're familiar with that, it's like the Norfolk, Virginia Beach area, going back to my dad being in the Army. And that's very close to like Colonial Williamsburg and Jamestown. And, you know, I fell in love with that time period of history and all that when I was kind of in elementary school. So I do really love history, and I later on went to law school, so I'm very much interested in those sort of constitutional ideas and everything like that. But I do recognize that, like they say in Hamilton, they call America the Great Unfinished Symphony, I believe. So there's still work to be done. Like, I think we can celebrate and aspire to the ideals set forth in our founding documents, even if we still have ground to cover. So I just wanted to put that out there. So just to cover really quick what I've used, I used the Fenty eye primer, and then I used the white shade of the, it's one of the Viseart palettes. I forget which one it is. It's this like gray scale one here. So I use that white shade. And then I'm going to use kind of a, I don't know, cool kind of light transition color in the crease just to add a bit of definition. So I think I might go into this kind of taupey shade in the Neutral Mattes palette. So anyway, so I just wanted to kind of say that as a kind of disclaimer, like, I understand why some people may be reluctant to really celebrate the 4th, but, and growing up, like, you know, I like a good picnic barbecue as the next person, but I was never like super into the 4th or anything like that. I don't know if my husband and I will be going out later. We could go down to the Alexandria waterfront. So I live in Alexandria, Virginia, which is just outside of DC. And we could walk down there, I think, and see the national fireworks. So we might do that, we might not. It just kind of depends. So next up, I'm going to go in with this Fenty Diamond Bomb in How Many Carats. And I'm gonna apply that to my lids. I wanted just kind of a light kind of shimmer, glimmer almost. And I swatched a lot of different things, and I think this was kind of like the look I was going for. I think it's quite pretty. So speaking of my husband, so one reason this 4th is a little bit more, I guess, special than normal is, if you haven't watched any of my previous videos, my husband is actually from the UK. So we have been going through the immigration process for the last, I guess, 4.5 years almost. So he came over on a fiancé visa, and what that means, if you've ever seen 90 Day Fiancé, I think it is, that's basically my life. It's a little less, this is the Wander Beauty Lip Retreat Oil, just to keep my lips moisturized. It's, I'm sure, a little less dramatic. I don't really watch that show. I don't know if it's just my preferences in television or because it hits too close to home, but I'm certainly aware of it. And basically what that means is, like if you were from the UK and you wanted to come over to the US, I don't think you need a special visa for that. You would just come over, and I think you basically have, you know, 90 days to, I think it's 90 days. Like a tourist visa, like you just come over, you see the sights, you go home, whatever. For a fiancé visa, he had to do like special paperwork in the UK before coming over. Like I submitted paperwork, I think, to the Department of State, I think, to get him the visa, and then he had to go to the consulate in the UK to get them to do their side of things, and then he came over with that visa. So when you come over on a fiancé visa, you have 90 days to get married, and then once you get married, you submit, it's been a little while since we did this, so my, you know, recollection is a little hazy, but once you get married, you submit additional paperwork to say, okay, we're married now, can we please have a green card, which is the permanent residency paperwork. And you're given, I think, like a provisional green card, which is good for, I think, like 2 years, and then you have to submit additional paperwork to say, you know, we're still here, we're still married, give me a permanent green card. So I forget when we submitted the paperwork for the permanent green card, but basically we were eligible to submit the paperwork for him to become a citizen, I think in August of last year. So he came over initially in November 2016. We got married in January of 2017. And then in August of 2020, we were able to submit the application for citizenship because you have to be a permanent resident for 3 years if you're married to a citizen to become a citizen. So it's very confusing. I'm actually somewhat proud of myself because I am a lawyer and I work for the government, so I feel like I'm able to kind of navigate some of that paperwork a little bit easier maybe than someone who isn't familiar with it. I don't work in immigration, but you know, I have some kind of basic ability to you know, research and figure out what I need to do. So we were able to get through the entire process without hiring a lawyer, which no shade to anyone who does hire a lawyer, but I just felt like we had a fairly simple case, I guess, and so I didn't feel like we needed to. But anyway, we submitted the paperwork in August, and they actually extended his green card because with COVID and everything especially, I think there was kind of a backlog in processing. And I think my sense is that they actually process citizenship applications faster than green card applications. I don't know if it's just a numbers thing or who's processing which application, that sort of thing. If you are going through this process and you would like to hear kind of more details about our experience, feel free to reach out. You can leave your Instagram handle down below and I'll DM you or whatever, because it is, you know, kind of a stressful and confusing and expensive process. So any kind of, you know, pearls of wisdom I can share, I'd be happy to do so. Although, like I said, we had a fairly simple case, so. But anyway, yeah, getting back to my point, we submitted the paperwork in August, and then in the second week of June, he had his interview, which I wasn't able to go into because of COVID and everything. I don't know if they used to have the spouse go in, but I did not go in. But anyway, they, you know, recommended him for citizenship, and so then we kept checking to see when he would actually be sworn in as a citizen. And we finally found out, I think this past week, that it would be on the 19th of July. So I think that is when I will upload this video, just to make sure everything, you know, goes well and I don't jinx myself or anything like that. So unfortunately, because of COVID, I'm not able to go in, you know, none of my family or anything can go into the ceremony. So it'll just be him. I think we will have like a dinner or something with my family maybe that weekend. Oh, I should mention his interview was scheduled for 6:40 a.m. I think it was a Friday. But I don't know if that's just like how backed up they were or what, but that was certainly unexpected to have to be there so early. But his swearing in will be a little bit more civilized. I think it's at 9. And the facility in the DC area is in, I think, Fairfax. So it's, I don't know, 20-30 minutes drive. It is accessible by metro. So this is a super creamy eyeliner, by the way. Almost too creamy. So yeah, so that's kind of my big life update. And like I mentioned, he came over on the fiancé visa, and we had 90 days to get married. So we actually just kind of had like a courthouse wedding. None of his family were there. It was just like my immediate family basically. And in some ways, I think the citizenship ceremony it feels almost as significant as getting married. Like it's a big step for us, and the nature of like the job that he wants to do, like his profession that he really wants to break into, requires citizenship basically. That's been kind of a big hold up. So I know when you see people give advice, they always say like, you know, just live in the moment. Don't feel like you're waiting for your life to begin for something to happen. But we've definitely been waiting for this for years and years. And it is very much like a huge step for us. My wings might be distant relations at this point, but I think I might just call it there. So first impressions using this Lethal Cosmetics liner. It's very creamy. It seems to dry down. It's been a while since I used a pot liner like this, but so far I like it. Okay, so I did my eyes first because I wasn't sure if I would have to remove those or anything like that. So going into my face using the Glossier Future Dew. I did also want to mention that we did go to like a local cidery yesterday to watch England in the Euro Cup. They were playing against Ukraine, and obviously being the Euro Cup, the US isn't playing in it. But it just cracked me up a little bit, kind of rooting for England on 4th of July weekend. And coming from the UK, how do I say this? It's not like there was a lack of opportunity in my husband's like home country or anything like that. Like his family is all there. So he moved to the US for me, which I'm very grateful for. That was the Charlotte Tilbury corrector, by the way. And I think I want to use this Tarte Hydroflex Serum Foundation. I have a video reviewing this, but because of the nature of my job and his job, I am a lawyer, and the UK just has a completely different like system when it comes to law and everything like that. So because I was already basically done with my legal training and everything when we started dating, it just kind of made more sense to move here. His field is IT, and obviously that kind of translates across borders, if you will. One thing we didn't really kind of anticipate as much is that his specialty is cybersecurity, and because of where I live, or where we live now, a lot of the jobs and everything are either government or government contractors. It might be different like on the West Coast, but here it's very much like government driven. And because of that, the security concerns or whatnot, they often require citizenship to work there. So that has been a major reason as well why we've been looking forward to this for so long. Have this little blemish cover up. So, you know, he's been able to do some things without that, but I'm hopeful that this will kind of make a huge difference for us going forward. Using the Anastasia brow gel in my brows. So I don't want to like go too much in depth or in detail because it's his story as much as it is mine, but it is a really big deal. So speaking of how it's a big deal, you know, like I said, we've been looking forward to this for a while, and you know, I'm one to really kind of lean into a theme, and you know, I like to celebrate other people and that sort of thing. And so, you know, a while back I was thinking we would go down to like the federal courthouse that's in Alexandria, and then we could have like kind of a reception. Like I said, we just had like a courthouse type wedding. So in a way, this feels almost like a wedding in terms of, you know, celebrating it and all that. But, you know, with COVID, I'm not able to go into the ceremony, and I don't know, like kind of in a normal year, how much flexibility there is in terms of planning a like ceremony. So they basically said, you know, show up here at this time and you'll be sworn in or whatever. I know some historical sites like Monticello and maybe I think like Mount Vernon, they have like citizenship ceremonies on the 4th, which given the kind of timing, that would have been really cool. We just found out, I think this past week, when the actual like oath and everything would be. So I don't know if some people just get told to like basically show up at Mount Vernon as opposed to like the immigration offices to do their oath. It would have been really cool if we'd been able to do that, but such is life. I mean, the most important thing is that, you know, we take care of it from like, you know, the official perspective, and then, you know, go from there. We did actually visit Mount Vernon, oh gosh, I think it was the Sunday before Father's Day, or the weekend before anyway. So it was like right after his interview, where they didn't tell him on the spot, but I think if you submit your application online, you're able to kind of go in and see like the latest status updates. And so we saw that he was like recommended for, you know, citizenship or whatever. Apparently they can like approve or recommend people on the spot and then basically just swear them in right away, which, you know, would have been nice, but then it would have taken out a little bit of the celebration aspect of it. Because he still had a pending like green card application, I don't know if they were able to do that. So I'm gonna go in with this Milani cream blush in the shade Blushing Berry. Haven't used this yet. Hopefully it's not too pigmented on me. So anyway, the weekend after, we went to Mount Vernon, which is, you know, 25 minutes south of us. And we've been there before several times, but they have a like a distillery and gristmill down there. I guess Washington started to distill whiskey, or he had people that were distilling whiskey for him during his lifetime. The mill was kind of like a recreation. I guess the original one was torn down or burnt down or something like that. But anyway, that was kind of cool. It was kind of separate from the main estate, and it wasn't something that we'd done before. So I might insert some pictures or video clips from that if you're curious. I think it was like $10 or something to do that, and that was nice. And we got some of the whiskey that they make on the property. It was pretty expensive for the amount you get, but you know, it was kind of a celebration. And then we went back to like the gift shop, and Mount Vernon does an ornament every year, so I picked up one of those, and then we ate at the Mount Vernon like restaurant. So it was just like a fun little like mini celebration, I guess. And then the following weekend, my parents came to visit us for Father's Day, and I think I mentioned that my dad was, or my whole family really, was stationed in Germany when I was a kid. So we have a lot of like fond memories of doing stuff over there. And we got some German beer for my dad. And I also managed to find like I think it was actually a German champagne or sparkling wine, which isn't something I've really seen before. You think of like German wine, you think of Riesling, but this was a sparkling wine that we saw at Costco. It was actually pretty good. And I made a Sauerbraten, which is like a German hot roast. And it has kind of like a, I don't know, sweet, sour type taste to it. Like you use a lot of wine and vinegar and stuff in it. I actually picked up some juniper berries, went in the recipe. I wouldn't say it was like amazing. It was good, but it wasn't amazing. So I don't know if I would go to the effort of making it again, but it was definitely something that was very kind of, I don't know, reminiscent of our childhood, or my childhood anyway. So I wanted to make that at some point, and I think I had mentioned to my parents that I was thinking of making it a few weeks before Father's Day, and they kind of invited themselves over, but it worked out because a pot roast is kind of a lot for 2 people anyway. So I made that, and I made rotkohl or red cabbage, and I got some of those potato dumplings that you boil. So, did I just get mascara in my hair? So everything turned out pretty well. I also made my husband's favorite dessert, which is Black Forest cherry cake, and I made a new recipe. It's funny because like you hear about Black Forest cherry cake over here, of course, but in the UK, for whatever reason, they call it Black Forest gâteau. Apparently, when my husband was a kid, his family would get him a Black Forest cherry cake from this bakery that just made like the most amazing Black Forest cherry cake of life, and we've been trying to kind of recreate that. For a few years, we were just like buying them from the grocery store or whatever. Nothing quite kind of measured up. I think the key is to buy like a really nice cherry brandy. Like we actually got one from the liquor store. It was like $50 or something. That is like from the Black Forest. So I think the key is to get like a really nice kind of cherry brandy, and then honestly, the best part about the cake is the whipped cream that you use, and you mix in like a tablespoon or 2 of the brandy. So my husband's birthday is in December, and so that was the first time I made it, and I used, I think, Mary Berry's recipe, and it was okay. I mean, it's not my favorite cake, so I might be a little bit more like critical anyway. But I decided to try a different one this time. The cake itself was just like a sponge, as the Brits would say if you watch the Great British Bake Off. The recipe was actually posted on the Sainsbury's website from some, I don't know, pastry chef or whatever. And it was interesting because it didn't have any kind of baking soda or baking powder to leaven it. It was just the eggs that you whip. So I'm not sure if there's like a technical like pastry term for that kind of cake or not, but basically you make this sponge cake, and then you make like a simple syrup with the brandy and kind of dab that on. And when I made it in December, I used frozen cherries, but because it is now cherry season, we used fresh cherries. And I do enjoy fresh cherries. I think next time around, I might make brownies, to be honest. Like we had some leftover cream and leftover cherries, and I'd gotten a brownie from Panera one time when we went out for running errands or whatever, and I didn't end up eating it with my lunch, and so I still had it. I brought it home, and I just kind of cut it up and put the whipped cream and cherries on top, and I think that was like just as good as making a cake and doing all the layers and everything. It's a lot easier. So I think like in the future I might make kind of like a trifle, which is like a very British dessert. So it's basically kind of layers of cream and cake and whatever else you want to put in there. So I think I might do that in the future. I also made my dad a coffee using that cream. Oh, and I got like a $15 bar of chocolate from Whole Foods too that I had to shave with like a vegetable peeler. So I made him a coffee. It was like a It's like a half caffeinated coffee in my Nespresso. Yeah, I did the coffee and then I put the cream and the chocolate on top. I also did want to mention that for our like 4th of July, it wasn't really like a barbecue or anything, but I made this HelloFresh, or no, it wasn't HelloFresh, it was Marley Spoon, which is another meal delivery service, and they had this like kimchi burger, so I guess like Korean inspired. So it's obviously not like the classic American burger or whatever, but in some ways it made a lot of sense because, as you probably know, this is a nation of immigrants, and my husband is soon to be one of the newer Americans to our country, so we are a melting pot, and it kind of felt in a way appropriate. If you've ever seen the Padma Lakshmi series, I think it was called Taste the Nation, where she delves into a lot of like immigrant foods and what people have brought to this country and how it's all kind of influenced our cuisine here and impacted our culture. So anyway, on that note, I will leave you all. I hope you are having a very safe and happy 4th of July if you are in the US. And if not, I just hope you're having a great Sunday. So I hope you're staying very safe and healthy, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.